Uhuru, everyone. Welcome to this special event hosted by the African People's Solidarity Committee. Today's event is titled White Solidarity with Black Power, We Won. And we will be summing up the incredible victory in the case of the Uhuru Three with not one day in jail and no fine. We'll discuss how this struggle to free the Uhuru Three is not yet over, and that it is more important than ever right now to get involved and deepen our commitment to build the movement for white solidarity with Black power bigger than ever. My name is Brendan. I am a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, or APSC. The African People's Socialist Party formed APSC in 1976 with the mandate that we organize other white people to build the movement of reparations and genuine solidarity with the liberation of African people. That is our assignment, and we work under the direct leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So to start off, I want to salute our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela. And I also want to salute my leadership in the Solidarity Committee, APSC Chairwoman Penny Hess. Before we get started, if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to get alerts wherever we go, whenever we go live or post a new video. If you're tuning in on Facebook, please share this live stream with friends and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We'll be having a Q&A session later in the program, so please take notes and enter any questions you might have in the Q&A feature in Zoom or in the comments section on YouTube or Facebook. I want to let people know that this event is a fundraiser for the Uhuru Solidarity Center. This is the national headquarters of the Solidarity Movement. It is a beautiful organizing center located on the south side of St. Louis with a banner outside that reads "Unity Through Reparations." So this building is owned by the party's Black Star Industries, and it is our responsibility to take care of it and build it. So tonight we have a goal to raise at least $500. So please go to apscuhuru.org/donate and make your contribution now or anytime throughout this program. Our special guest tonight, our Uhuru Solidarity Movement Chair, Jesse Neville. He is a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and one of the Uhuru Three. So we are going to interview him about the case, as well as we also have joining us APSC member and director of Uhuru Foods, Maureen Wagner, who will be joining us to discuss the struggle to open the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe on the north side of St. Louis. Before we get to our guests, we're going to go ahead and play some footage from the day of the Uhuru 3 sentencing. We'll hear first from Chairman Omali Yeshitela outside the courthouse steps, and then a statement from APSC Chairwoman Penny Hess at the post-sentencing summation later that day at the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, Florida. So here are those videos.
Chairman Omali Yeshitela is now stepping down the steps of the federal courthouse in Tampa, Florida. Not one day! 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 Not one day!
How's that? Yeah, we're going to talk about these incredible lawyers. Yeah, one of them said, not one day, not one dime. Not one day, not one dime. Not one day, not one dime. So, not yet Uhuru. Not yet Uhuru. Not yet Uhuru. I just would like to express our appreciation to all of you for being here all along with us and giving these incredible lawyers this foundation to stand on, right? And they're able to walk into the lion's den with great confidence and just did a splendid job. And if you listen to what the judge had to say, he said what our lawyers have been saying all along. That was the thing that I was so impressed by. The lawyers have been saying this all along. That's right. And our lawyers have said that we shouldn't be here. We had a lawyer who said that if this thing even goes to trial, that it's an assault, a major assault on the First Amendment. Right. And so I just wanted to acknowledge everybody here and the power of the people. The power of the people. I want to say that the only reason this discussion is happening right now about free speech, and the judge was given an opportunity to make the rulings and make the statements that he made, the only reason he was given this opportunity is because we fought. If we had laid down, we wouldn't have had this discussion. And the discussion we've had up to now, I'm sure, is going to play a role in our appeal, and this has just been a splendid journey that we've been on just in terms of the time here. These are incredible lawyers. Yes, they are. And I think we've opened up an entirely new era in terms of political lawyers. I haven't seen anything like this since the 1960s. Yeah. Leonard, as far as I was concerned, drew first blood. Yeah. When he came out with the motion to drop the charges, to get rid of the charges, and he did this remarkable piece that used our 14-point program, used who we were, the history of our movement as the basis for it. It was an extraordinary piece. We go into a courtroom and we have these lawyers who go up and their opening statements and say, Uhuru. Say, can you repeat that? Uhuru. And then it says means freedom. It means freedom of speech, freedom of association, etc. We have a lawyer that we don't hide from anything. We have a lawyer that says that Omali Yeshitela cannot be bought. He's a revolutionary. He's a revolutionary, right? This went down in the courtroom, and I am. And this is the basis for the attack and the concrete. We made a concrete manifestation, not just a revolutionary in words, not just bullet mouthing, not just blowing smoke, but actually creating a new world right now. This is the thing that's so problematic because we don't just dislike the world we live in. We're not just talking about destroying something. Our objective is to build the new world right under their feet. Build a new world, and that's what we've been doing, etc. This is the task that we've taken on. It's been really remarkable, and of course, all of you, we couldn't have come this far without you. And I have so much appreciation. We've got people come from everywhere, across all kinds of political and ideological spectrums. Some people fought us because of some people who were with us. You have those people with you. We don't want to be with you. Said bye. You understand? And we crossed the political spectrum. This is not playing games and what have you. Not just talking about stuff. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of everybody who's been with us.
I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the fiercest fighter for the liberation of African people and for oppressed and colonized peoples around the world. Never back down. That's right. Always stand with the principle that African people must be free, that indigenous people must have their land back, that Puerto Rican people must have Puerto Rico, that the Palestinian people must have Palestine, and that all oppressed and colonized people will be those who have the leading power on this planet. And I have had the honor of being a member and often the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, for almost 50 years. In all of this time, I have had the honor to be in many organizations, many groups and meetings just like this one, and to be able to see the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and that always have seen, hardly ever, a meeting like this, an event where African people have not stood up and talked about the police murders of their children, the mass incarceration, colonial reality that African people face, and this huge gap between the conditions of white people and the conditions of African people. And this is what this case tried to do. Among other things, it tried to say that white people would be intimidated to stand under the leadership of the African Revolution, and we say, no way! And that it enables us to be here today, to be able to look at the true history of white people, a history that is violent, a history that participated in the enslavement of African people, who, from regular white working people, participated or even instigated the lynchings of African people. I have studied the history because Chairman Omali Yeshitela put out an understanding that this country and this system is built on the kidnapping of African human beings that created the first wealth and first capital of capitalism, the capitalist system, that it's built on genocide. That's not a fluke. That's not something a long time ago. This is the essence, this is the DNA of the system that we live in, and that is not racism, that is colonialism. And that African people here are fighting for their liberation, for political power, for the return of their stolen resources, just like any oppressed person, people, anywhere else on the planet. That's what Chairman Omali Yeshitela taught us, that that was our job, to go into the white community and win that message. And to do more than that, to say that reparations to African people is the essence of what we do and what we talk about and what we actually raise the resources because of the stolen wealth that belongs to African people, not as a favor, not as something that we would want to do out of the goodness of our hearts, but because we understand that this wealth, this ability to live, the resources, everything needed for human beings to live has been stolen 600 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago. Today it goes on, and that colonialism is the essence, and the chairman calls it the colonial mode of production. And that means that there is nothing in the system that is not made by, that colonialism doesn't create. There's nothing pristine. There's nothing like, oh, I can just go out and grow my own farm, because that farm belongs to the indigenous people. And how many bodies of indigenous people are under the ground right there, where you're going to be doing your little pristine life, and that white people can't do that. And we also know that many white people do want to take a stand, want to be on the right side of history. But how do you do that? How do you do that in a principled way? Because white people can't go, well, can't we all get along now? Because it doesn't really work like that. There is a price to pay, because everything that we have had has come at the expense of others, of Africans, of indigenous people, and oppressed people around the world. So there is a price to pay, but that price is a liberation for white people. It enables us to join the people on the planet Earth, to have, for the first time, a principled relationship, not as a colonizer to African people and oppressed people, but under their leadership and under their incredible power of creating a new world, which is exactly what Chairman Omali Yeshitela has always fought for, and why he was attacked by the US government, to create a world without the oppressors and the oppressed, without the theft, the rape, the pillage, the nastiness that Mrs. Green just talked about on this planet. We don't want that. We want a world where there can truly be peace, and not just by some accord that the US government writes or something for some minute. That is about the power of the people. So I just want to say that this is what I have learned from Chairman Omali Yeshitela. This is why I am here. When they came from Fred Hampton at 4 a.m. and shot through the walls, pulled him out of the bed and shot him point blank.
Yes.
He's good and dead now.
He's good and dead now.
And that we cannot, as white people, stand by and watch that. This still is everyday reality. We have to take a stand. We have to join this movement and do this work and see the power. I just want to say that we have won. We are still fighting. This will be continue to go on until African people will be free, until the colonial mode of production is wiped off the face of the earth.
Uhuru, if that doesn't motivate you, just two incredibly, passionate and mobilizing statements there from Chairman Omali Yeshitela and APSC Chairwoman Penny Hess. And now I am very excited to start our discussion with our special guests, members of the APSC Central Committee. We have joining us now USM Chair Jesse Neville and Uhuru Foods and Pies Director Maureen Wagner. Welcome, both of you. Uhuru, before we get started, can you tell us just a little about yourselves and your role in the movement?
Uhuru, Comrade Brendan. I'm really excited to be here and honored to be a part of this discussion tonight. And I just want to salute you for emceeing and salute my comrade Maureen Wagner, who's a veteran of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that and the work that Comrade Maureen does. And I also want to just acknowledge Chairwoman Penny Hess and Chairman Omali
Yeah.
Yeshitela and those presentations that we just heard, which were absolutely electrifying. And it's so powerful to see them again and to remember that historic day, December 16th of last year, that I know we're going to talk about in just a moment. And I also want to salute Deputy Chair Ona Zanea Shatella and her leadership, which we will be discussing at length in this meeting tonight, the work that Deputy Chair does to build Black power in the real world. And I am a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and I'm the chair of our mass organization, Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And before turning it over to Comrade Maureen, I just wanted to shout out the people who are joining us. And just wanted to shout out some of them, including Secretary General Allison Haney, our comrade Blaze, who's in St. Pete, who does incredible work with Uhuru Foods and Pies and USM, Comrade Brandy out of Phoenix, Diane in Gainesville, Dylan, our amazing organizer in Columbus, Ohio, the incredible Esther Holzendorf in Kansas City, who plays a key role heading up the Kansas City Reparations Commission and has been a profound friend and supporter of Hands Off Uhuru from the very beginning. Just really honored to have Esther on with us. Comrade Indigo in Columbus, Jackie in Maine, who's been out getting out literature of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement there. Comrade Janice Kant, who's another really key leading veteran member of the African People's Solidarity Committee. Casey Mill, who was there with us on that historic day in Tampa and has joined the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Kelly, also in Maine, who worked with the Jill Stein campaign. And we got to meet Kelly when Jill Stein was in St. Louis the night that she was arrested, actually. We met Kelly at an event at University City where the chairman spoke and out over at the jail as well. Comrade Kitty Riley, Kristen, Marcel, Mavia, Paulette, Peg, Ruby, Shakura. Just amazing to have everybody on and anyone I didn't name. And just want to close my little opening here, my opening statement by saying that we really appreciate Paulette being on also from the Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc
Yes.
Committee, which has shared a very profound relationship with the Hands Off Uhuru campaign, with the chairman and the party for many years, and salute the incredible victory of the recent release of Leonard Peltier. And, you know, as the chairman has said, there can be no greater obscenity you can possibly imagine than for this indigenous freedom fighter to be imprisoned on his own land for fighting to liberate the indigenous people from colonial domination. So salute to Leonard Peltier and victory to the indigenous people. And I'm excited for this discussion, and I'll turn it over to Comrade Maureen.
Uhuru Chair Jesse, thank you. And I just want to unite with all the salutes you made. And Brendan, thank you for leading this. And so many people behind the scenes too, I know. And some of the comrades that you mentioned work under the leadership directly of Deputy Chair as well, including in Uhuru Foods and Pies. But I want to salute Chairman Omali Shatella, without whom none of us would be here today. And you know, that he continues to lead the fight for African, Mexican, Indigenous, and liberation of all peoples, and an end to colonialism, absolute end to the colonial mode of production. And as he said, I know we're going to be talking about Trump tonight, but as he said, African people aren't afraid of Trump, they're afraid of colonialism. That's what we want to fight as well. So I want to salute Chairwoman Penny Hess too, who, as she said, there has been the chairwoman for 50 years. I haven't been around quite as long, but she has been my leadership the whole time that I've been in the Solidarity Movement directly from APSC. And Deputy Chairwoman is Zanea Shatella, who leads all the economic work of the party And as the chairman has said, we know that the economic work is revolutionary work, and we want to talk about that a little bit tonight as well. And it's just an incredible honor to work in the institutions that we're going to be talking about, including Uhuru Foods and Pies, which is more than 40 years old. And many, many people, maybe everyone who is listening tonight has been a part of it in one way or another, even if it was eating a slice of pie. So, it's just a really incredible mass institution of economic development that the African People's Socialist Party has always been involved in economic development, and food is a key part of that. So, yeah, so I work currently now in St. Louis, working to bring Raw Foods and Pies here. It's still in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's been in California for many, many years, and there's many deep relationships in both areas that support the work of the Uhuru movement as a result of that. And so, yeah, I just want to again welcome everybody else on Salute, and salute Chair Jesse, who's the chair of Uhuru Solidarity Movement in 140 cities. So Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you both for joining me today. And yeah, major salute to, to everybody who's watching and, who's joining us tonight. So let's just kick it off. Jesse, can you give us a little bit of background of these attacks, just in case anybody is a little unfamiliar? What is the case of the Uhuru Three, and how did it come to the world's attention?
Yes, I'd be happy to, Comrade Brendan. And first, I just want to also give a special shout out to Peg Keefe, who's joining us from St. Petersburg, because Peg is an amazing part of this movement. And we're going to be talking about really the kind of full spectrum attack made on the Uhuru movement, on the movement of African people for their liberation, and how that played itself out through attacks on the party's economic institutions for self-determination for African people. And one of those was, and continues to be, the Black Power 96 radio station in St. Petersburg. And we, many of us over here in St. Louis, first became aware of this amazing comrade Peg during a hearing of the Pinellas County Commission, when Peg stood up and just threw down on the Pinellas County Commission for their role in the revoking of a grant that was rightfully to be given to the radio station that had been revoked as part of these attacks. So we just want to shout out Comrade Peg, and also Shakura, a longtime member of the Uhuru movement, just another incredible force that I think is yes, that's joining us on here tonight as well. So shout out to them and Uhuru. And yes, I appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion, to talk about white solidarity with Black Power on trial, how the party fought back and won, and the ongoing struggle, and how the party is going to continue to fight back. And it's really important that Comrade Maureen is part of this discussion as well, representing APSC's work under the office of Deputy Chair, because the attacks are not over, and that means the fight back is not over. And there's an incredibly important component of these attacks having to do with the US government and the city government's efforts to block the Uhuru Bakery from opening in North St. Louis, that we want to talk about tonight, and really win and educate all of our members and supporters on the significance of this struggle as a part of the overall fight back. So first of all, I just want to again salute the leadership of the chairman, our leadership in the African People's Socialist Party, the chairman Omali Shatella, Deputy Chair Onis Anea Shatella, Chair Mwezi Odom, who leads the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back, and again, the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, Chairwoman Penny Hess. And I can't say it any better than that presentation that we just saw from Chairwoman Penny in terms of what APSC is. So just want to unite with that summation that Chairwoman Penny put out, and just say that it's a great honor to be a part of this organization that was created by Chairman Omali Shatella and the African People's Socialist Party back in 1976 to extend the struggle for African freedom into the white colonizer population. And that this was part of the strategic work that the chairman and the party had done to solve the problems left over from the military defeat of the Black Revolution of the 1960s, including the problem of white people, of how to forge a principled stand from the colonizers who historically have been in unity with our own ruling class because we benefit from the oppression of African people. What is the correct role? What is the correct relationship for white people to have with the struggle for African liberation and the struggle against colonialism around the world? And the chairman answered that question with the creation of the African People's Solidarity Committee and with the work of going into the white community to win reparations to African people. And all of these things that the party has done for over 50 years, rebuilding the Black Revolution, making it so that the US government ultimately failed in crushing the struggle of African people to be free. That is what the chairman and the party have represented for over half a century, and that is why the party came under attack. And just to give a quick timeline of the attacks on the African People's Socialist Party, I won't go into all the details, but of course, many people are aware that on July 29th of 2022, the FBI carried out these violent multi-city military raids on the chairman and deputy chair's home, on the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, on Chairwoman Penny Hess's home, on the Uhuru Solidarity Center, and a total of 7 homes and offices. But just a few weeks before that, a person came to the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg with a military-grade flamethrower and torched the red, black, and green flag flying outside that building. And this was something that that we've really come to understand, as the chairman has explained, was a test run by the state for the raid that they were preparing to carry out just a few weeks later. The State Department announced a $10 million reward after the raids and the initial indictment of a Russian national that they charged with working to recruit people in the United States to work as illegal Russian agents in a conspiracy to sow discord. The chairman, Chairwoman Penny Hess, director of agitation and propaganda of the party, Akile and I and myself were named as unindicted co-conspirators in that bogus indictment. And then on April 18th of 2023, the chairman, who is the primary target of this attack, and Chairwoman Penny Hess and myself were indicted under 2 charges of working as unregistered agents of Russia and conspiracy to work as unregistered agents of Russia. And there was an arraignment in May of 2023. As the chairman mentioned, there was a brilliant motion for dismissal filed by Uhuru 3 attorney Leonard Goodman. And we do want to salute, as the chairman said, our incredible legal team that worked under the political strategy of the chairman to wage an incredible fight back in the courts. And then finally, in September of last year, the Uhuru 3 went to trial in Florida and had a tremendous political victory of defeating the main charge of acting as unregistered Russian agents, with a contradictory split verdict having been found guilty of conspiring to act as unregistered agents, which our legal team is going to be appealing, and there's going to be a lot of events and motion to raise the funds to support that appeal. But this was a sort of mixed legal victory, but a total political victory, because the point of this attack was not simply to, as the chairman has said, to imprison the Uhuru 3. The political objective of this attack was to discredit the struggle of African people against colonialism by saying that when African people criticize their conditions or exercise their right to freedom of speech to speak out against police murder and mass incarceration and genocide, and to call for reparations, that somehow this is the product of Russian intervention. And as the chairman said on the courthouse steps on the day of the verdict, the jury was unable to convict the Uhuru movement of working for anybody except for Black people. So that was followed by the moment that you just saw in that video, where despite the fact that the US government, the prosecutors, wanted to put the chairman in prison for 3 years. Originally, they were going for 15 years. They had been knocked down by the struggle to asking for 3 years and a $100,000 fine on Chairman Amali Chatella, 2 years and $20,000 fine on Chairwoman Penny Hess, and 2 years in federal prison for myself. Instead of getting that outcome that the prosecutors wanted, the judge said that he he recognized that everything that the Uhuru movement had been accused of doing was freedom of speech, legal protected speech, if you put aside this whole thing about registering as a Russian agent, and ended up saying no one's going to prison and no one's getting a fine. And the room erupted into applause and cheers, and people began to chant, "Not one day, not one dime." And this was an absolutely triumphant moment, uh, not just in terms of what was achieved within the court, but for the whole movement worldwide, for African people, because the chairman made this into a struggle for anti-colonial free speech and was able to win people across the political spectrum to unite with the right of African people to freedom of speech, to use freedom of speech to advocate for the liberation of African people, recognizing that African people have never had freedom of speech under this system. So who else would be at the vanguard of the struggle for free speech? And like the chairman said, what we experienced that day was the revolutionary joy of the power of the people expressing itself in that tremendous victory. So yeah, it was an incredible struggle, and we want to thank and salute every single person that stood with the Uhuru movement throughout this entire process and continues to stand with the Uhuru movement as we go into the next phase of the fight back. And just want to finish by acknowledging that, as the chairman and chairwoman Penny Hess have really helped us understand, the attack on the solidarity movement, the fact that the chair of APSC, Penny Hess, and the chair of USM, myself, the fact that the Uhuru Solidarity Center was raided, this was part of the attack on the party and on the chairman, because they wanted to disrupt the strategy of the party to break the encirclement of the African Revolution by the colonial state. And they wanted to scare and intimidate white people away from realizing our true interests, which are in solidarity with African, indigenous, Palestinian, and oppressed peoples of the world. And they failed, because we're here and we're going to continue to be here. We're not going anywhere, and we're growing. And this is the time for everybody who's on the sidelines to jump in and join the African People's Solidarity Committee and build the solidarity movement under the leadership of the African working class. Uhuru.
Uhuru, yes, and yeah, they tried to scare white people from from joining in solidarity, and it has only made the movement stronger in every aspect. So continuing to grow and and continuing to fight back and looking forward to this next step where where the chairman and the Uhuru Three win this appeal. Going to go ahead and move on to our next question. This one's for Maureen. So Chairman Omali Yeshitela has stated that the party came under attack because it because it is more than a protest movement. It is actually negating colonialism. And doing this by building political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. As evidence of this, the state's attacks on the party have included numerous economic attacks on the programs of the Uhuru movement, including our main focus today on the bakery and cafe. Can you give us some background on the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe here in North St. Louis and on this struggle to open the bakery?
Sure, Brendan. Yes, thank you. And I want to thank Chair Jesse for that presentation, and again for all the work of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and again salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, who has really been on the forefront of reparations and white solidarity for 50 years and set so many examples and training and winning white people and struggling. That was a really powerful presentation, as been said earlier. And the struggle, as Chairwoman Penny said, is around feed, clothe, and house the people, and that all the resources of African people have been taken from them, to build white society. And but what the African People's Socialist Party is doing under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and under the leadership of Deputy Chair is building an economy that is in the hands of African people, controlled by African people, And that stands in direct opposition to colonialism, the colonial economy. And that's why it was attacked, just like Tulsa was attacked a little over 100 years ago, when African people had built what is known as Black Wall Street. That's why Rosewood was attacked in Florida a little over 100 years ago, where African people had thriving economies, and even why Mill Creek was taken here in St. Louis. And that's the context in which we see some of these attacks on the Uhuru movement, because it's literally called the Black Power Blueprint that is being built under the leadership of its architect, Deputy Chair Onezene Shatella. It's not just about some programs or some charity or anything like that. It's about establishing self-determination. And as white people, when we support that, we have an opportunity to take a stance to defend the right of African people to self-determination, to economic development, and to have an economy that's in complete contradiction to colonialism, and that is not one that's built at the expense of one people for another. So it's really exciting to be a part of the work that APDF does under the leadership of the party. And I just want to say about the bakery. The bakery is going to be the home of Uhuru Bakery and Uhuru Foods and Pies, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. And as you know, again, the chairman has said, you know, the economic work is political work, is revolutionary work. And in fact, the first food concession was a fundraiser for the campaign to free Desi Woods, who was an African woman who fought and struggled to free herself from a rape attack by a white man in the mid 1970s. And the party built an amazing international campaign to free her. And from that first food booth is really, you know, we have to say is the birth of the Uhuru Foods and Pies in its current stage. And African People's Solidarity Committee has been a key component of that institution, raising reparations, going out into the white community, selling cookies, sausages, pies, what have you. And then in 2012, Uhuru movement, African People's Socialist Party formed Black Star Industries as an economic umbrella for all its economic work. And Uhuru Foods and Pies is the first institution of that. And so it's 40 years. It's been in St. Petersburg, Florida. I heard Jesse salute our Secretary General Allison. She's been a part of it. Other people on this call, Kitty, Riley, Ruby, so many people, and currently Peg, Janice, Blaze, so many people. And it's just a great way to be involved in, you know, doing something different. All the institutions of the Black Power Blueprint that has been trying to be developed in St. Louis has met roadblocks by the city. Sometimes they call it red tape. It's not just red tape. It's an attack on the ability of African people to have an economy and to have a community that thrives. It's included things like fines, you know, long-term application times, going through this, going through that. And that's what's happened with the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. So it's not just the city, but also the media has attacked the Uhuru movement on several occasions, including around this issue. And there's, you know, the city officials, you know, stand in the way. So in actually a year ago and 3 days, African People's Education and Defense Fund bought the building at 3719 West Florissant to be the home of Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. But in 2017, APDF had bought a bigger building on Goodfellow and Natural Bridge, which is designed to be a manufacturing bakery, a cafe, an outdoor event space, and a training facility. That project is going to take $1 million, more than $1 million to complete. So in the meantime, Deputy Chair Onezene Shatella, who is also president of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, said, let's start smaller. Let's get people wanting this food in St. Louis, show it off, get people in. Also, that location is at the opposite end of a main corridor from where the Uhuru House is, so it ties completely into all the projects there. And in January, we thought, okay, that bakery will be open in about 6 months. The African People's Education and Defense Fund and Black Power Blueprint has worked with a Black architect in St. Louis who's designed some plans for it, did a rendering for it. The place was demoed inside. And we took the permits to the city in May, and we thought, okay, in a couple of weeks we'll have a permit, only to find out a week later that there was what was called a zoning hold on it, that the place was not zoned to be a restaurant, even though there's been restaurants in it for 22 years. You have to go through a process called a conditional use, getting a conditional use permit. And in order to do that, you have to have a hearing, and you have to get the approval of neighborhood associations and aldermen. And this is part of the issue that we're facing. And so APDF did that. People on the team, including Sally Moyenda, who is the outreach coordinator, and others in the community, went out, knocked on doors, got signatures. All of us in the Solidarity Movement went out on the South Side, which is the white community primarily, and talked to cafe owners and others to sign letters, say, don't you think African people have a right to have this type of cafe or this type of restaurant? And people said yes, and signed the letter of support. We submitted over 300 signatures to the board that was hearing it on the conditional hearing, and then had the hearing in August. 14 people spoke in favor of it, including a former alderman, Zaki Barudi from the Universal African Peoples Organization, Onazanea Shatella, the president of the African Peoples Education and Defense Fund, and others from the community. And one person spoke against it, and her name is Terry Rose. And this is where I want to talk about what white people have to do, because we have to do the opposite of what she does. And she was nasty. She talked really nasty about Black people, saying that, you know, this restaurant is not going to work because none of the other ones do, and Black people can't afford to buy food in a restaurant. And if you have liquor, it'll be a shootout. Just hostile, nasty. And APDF is a Russian corporation, and it's divisive, and we don't want a shipping container, which is not even in the plan. And this is what the media keeps putting out too, the Russia question, going back to the attack on the Uhuru 3. And as the chairman has said, and Deputy Chairman Zanea Shatella has said, is like, you know, they wish that the Uhuru movement worked for the Russians. But the Uhuru movement doesn't. As the chairman said, we work for Black people. And that's really the issue, is that this is a movement for Black people to have self-determination. So yeah, so Terry Rose said these nasty things, and then the zoning board said, okay, we denied the permit. Not based on any violations of code or anything else, but based on this woman who represents a neighborhood association saying all these things. And this woman brags that her family has lived in this neighborhood called College Hill since the 1850s. Well, we know what that looked like in the 1850s. That was a plantation where African people were enslaved. And who wants to brag that their ancestors were slave owners or slave masters? But that's what she holds on to and tries to control the community. So now, and on the same day that Uhuru's permit was denied, 2 locations on the South Side that serve liquor, one is actually a bar, were granted permits by the city. Yeah. So it's a whole systemic problem that exists in St. Louis, but it's also tied to the attacks on the Uhuru 3 and the federal government, because right near the Black Power Blueprint is what's called the NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which is a spy agency that monitors satellites and can pinpoint where to drop a bomb, you know, that they want to drop, or where to assassinate a leader of a liberation struggle. And that's tied to this issue. So it's not just local to St. Louis. But I just want to say that as white people, we have to take a stand that's really different than Terry Rose's. And we have to, you know, as Chairman Penny said, the price is we get to be involved in liberation. We get to, you know, free ourselves from living at the expense of others, trying to control others, and be part of the future of humanity that includes things as simple as a great bakery led by Black people, and be a part of that. So now we have to appeal this hearing, and that is going to be on February 12th. And it's going to be on a Zoom conference, and a little bit later we can show you the the directions to get on the Zoom. We want everybody on the Zoom.
Yeah.
There will be a script. There'll be some people that can present. There'll be an attorney. There'll be the architect, and there'll also be people from Uhuru that speak and people from the community. There's information there.
There we go.
So
Yeah,
I
thank
hope
you for
that
putting that up.
answers I hope I answered the question, and just say what an honor it is to do this work. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yeah, I think that was, a perfect answer and really, gives a background for this struggle. And I just want to say, last week or 2 weeks ago, Mayor Tashara Jones posted this video going to some cafe on the south side or a restaurant on the south side and talking to the owners of the place and he was just saying, oh yeah, there was no red tape and it was incredibly easy and didn't take any time at all. And yeah, it's if you haven't come out here, to see the Black Power Blueprint, come out here and see it. We'll show you the bakery. You can see, what it is that this system is going to such ridiculous lengths to stop, and we will not let it stop us from building this movement for reparations. And I know the party will not let it stop them from, building power in the hands, of the African working class. Uh, so onto our next discussion point. Okay, so Maureen and Jesse, let's just, get right into it. There's a lot of concern right now about the actions taken by Trump, including his recent executive order to freeze federal funding, grants and loans. So yesterday, the New York Times reported a Trump administration memo sent to U.S. federal agencies Monday night ordered temporary freezes in funding for programs across the government. It caused widespread confusion among agency officials and organizations that rely on federal support, including states, schools, hospitals, and other nonprofits. The order, temporarily blocked by a federal judge as it was set to go into effect, was circulated alongside a spreadsheet of about 2,600 programs now under review, spanning virtually every federal initiative that distributes money, even some like Medicare, that officials said would not be affected. The article includes a list of all of those programs identified by the Office of Management and Budget for examination to ensure they do not advance, quote, advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies, end quote. And now Trump says he has rescinded the freeze, but I think we still have to talk about this and sum this up. So I will send that over to you guys. So Uhuru.
Uhuru, Brendan. Yeah, I think that's important to sum that up. And before kind of getting into the specifics of that, I just want to appreciate what Maureen was laying out about the
Yes.
struggle for Uhuru Bakery Cafe, and just echo the call for people to sign up for that appeal on February 12th, and just really unite with what Maureen was saying, that that this is really what the attack on the Uhuru 3 was about.
Yeah.
And the chairman, one time the chairman was summing up the significance of deputy chair, and he said deputy chair in many ways was the target of the attack on the Uhuru 3 because of what she represents, the work that she represents and that the party represents, which is actually building political and economic, tangible, concrete political, economic, anti-colonial power in the hands of African people. And Chairman Omali Shatella really puts out this understanding of colonialism as a mode of production. Colonialism, being the total domination of an entire people, of African people, of indigenous people, of colonized people, for the advantage, for the political advantage and economic benefit of the colonizer, which is white people, And that's a relationship enforced by the colonial state, the state being the FBI, the police, the courts, the military, et cetera, the prison system, and all of that. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. So, something the chairman was saying recently, when you look at the fact that the Palestinian people, which is a population of less than 3 million people, their heroic uprising and resistance has made it so that the US government finds it necessary to mobilize the full resources of their warships and sending billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to the illegitimate Israeli colonial settler state to try to crush the Palestinian people. That one might look at that and say, well, what an irrational response by supposedly the biggest, the most powerful, quote unquote, country in the world to a population of less than 3 million people. But the chairman says, except that it is not irrational because the struggle of the Palestinians is an anti-colonial struggle that contributes to the existential crisis of colonialism. This thing is in serious trouble. And the chairman says the same exact thing can be said for what the US government has attempted to do to the Uhuru movement, because like the Palestinians, the African People's Socialist Party is not a protest movement. It's a movement to actually negate colonialism. That's what the party's been doing for 50 years. And, like was mentioned by Maureen and Chairwoman Penny's presentation, the whole history of this country is every single time African people, through sheer will, through their genius, through sheer determination, have attempted to build up their communities without any, in support or funding from the government, but have tried to independently make some kind of economic life happen. The US government, the police, or just white people acting as an extension of the state come in and crush it. Rosewood, Tulsa, Mill Creek Valley here in St. Louis, and so many other communities in St. Louis. The whole history of this country, as Chairwoman Penny has said, is wrapped up in the history of St. Louis, where every single time, every single step forward African people have tried to make to having economic prosperity in their own hands, the government and white people have come in and crushed it. And the party is struggling to put an end to that by saying political and economic power for African people. And that's why it's the Black Power blueprint. And that's why the stand of reparations and solidarity from white people is so important. And anyway, I just wanted to express appreciation for what Maureen was saying, because the bakery is not just connected to the attack on the Uhuru 3. That's what it was about. They did this attack on the Uhuru 3 so they could have an excuse to go in and try to shut down genuine economic development for African people that the Uhuru movement is doing. And I'm just glad that Maureen was able to bring that to light and help us understand that. So, yeah, and also Maureen, if there's any time you want to chime in, I don't have any issue with that. So please feel free.
Yeah, but I want to address a couple things. One, you just reminded me about the economic attacks. One of the first economic sanction attacks that came after the physical military attack on the Uhuru movement was to call in the mortgage on the bakery, the one at Goodfellow and Natural Bridge. They called it in. The bank called it in and shut down every account at Regions Bank, which APDF had A+ credit at, and it was an attempt to set things backwards, as much as if they had come in and attacked it physically. But the people have supported the institutions and the work of the Black Power Blueprint. And just in relationship to the grants, Black Power Blueprint does get grants, and it's gotten federal grants. So the question came up, are these under, are these going to be pulled back because of what Trump did? But the thing is that this is a people's movement led by the African working class. And this is why solidarity and reparations is important, because these grants from the federal government are actually not designed to solve the problem of the people. They're designed to solve the problems of capitalism and the system, and to keep the people from doing something like a Black Power blueprint. It's designed to, even they have grants for helping people, what they call second chance, coming out of prison. And APDF has an African Independence Workforce Program. And part of the issue is this government imprisoned so many African people that it impacted the workforce. So what do? They put some grants in, but they're not solving the problem of colonialism or the terror that's existing for African people every single day. So when these grants were pulled, yeah, it's a problem. But what it really says is we need to build this movement for reparations. We need to build this movement for the reparations legacy project. Somebody can write a check for that $1 million for Uhuru Bakery Cafe and not even notice that it's gone. That's the kind of wealth that has been accumulated from African people for 600 years that is in the hands of white people. And we want to do that. And we want to do it because it's in our interest to live in a different world and to, see African people free and to be able to honestly, enjoy the relationships that we can have with the rest of humanity. So, I think we're going to be talking more in the coming months about the Reparations Legacy Project, but it's a real thing and it needs these projects got to be supported and people should go be happy about really supporting that. And yes, I just want to say that about the thing with Trump. And as the chairman said, we're not afraid of Trump. We're fighting colonialism. We're fighting for Black power. And, we're not fighting for the Russians. And I think that, these 48 hours or whatever about these grants, yeah, we were worried about a couple of programs. There was a farmer's market that was funded for 3 years by the USDA that African People's Education and Defense Fund led, and it was the best grant that they had given. It was one of the only ones that was completed during COVID because African people need healthy food, and that's part of what the bakery is about too. So yeah, I just wanted to say, I hope that's helpful. I just wanted to say those few things about the whole thing with the grants. We can't be demoralized or scared or anything. It was crazy, but that's not what the Black Power Blueprint relies on. I mean, Africans in the community gave $1, $5, $10, $20 to build a basketball court. This is self-determination and self-reliance, and we get to be a part of it.
Uhuru, absolutely. Thank you, Comrade Maureen. I just wanted to read these comments from Chairwoman Penny. The New York Times tonight wrote, Carolyn Levitt, the White House press secretary, insisted this afternoon, this is not a rescission, I think I'm saying that right, of the federal funding freeze. She appeared to be referring to the fact that the president signed executive orders last week directing government agencies to review and eliminate spending on so-called woke ideologies. These measures remain in force. Trump is now expected to pursue other ways of eliminating voices of dissent inside the federal government. Yesterday, for example, his administration offered roughly 2 million government employees the option to resign and continue being paid for several months. Many of his approaches could defy the law, but a legal challenge may be exactly what he wants. And Chairwoman Penny says, this is why we have to join the Uhuru movement, fight back, get back at Trump by supporting the Uhuru movement. And I think that's the key thing. I just want to, really unite with that and just say, like the chairman has pointed out, this attack on funding, think about it. They want to take funding away. They want to revoke grants. Wow, that sounds familiar. That was happening under Biden to the Uhuru movement. The Biden administration was doing that. And that's why the party is really emphatic that we have to be clear. This is colonialism. There's a lot of talk now from white people, people who consider themselves leftists, about Trump representing the rise of fascism in this country. But the chairman's clear on that. What we call fascism is that moment at which the conditions which are normal for African people, for colonized people every single day, and I shouldn't say they're normal, but they're treated as normal, they're normalized under the system of colonialism, begin to appear to creep into the lives of white people. We fear that we might feel some smidge of what African and colonized people face every day, and that's when the alarm of fascism goes off. But the party is clear that the struggle is against colonialism, and whether it's Trump or anyone else, and yet Trump clearly is going to continue to intensify all of these attacks on African people, on Mexican people, on the indigenous people, on the Palestinians. But the way to fight back is by being under the leadership of the African liberation movement, who just took on the federal government and won a tremendous victory for free speech for everybody, the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Amalia Shatella. who was it in the 1950s and 60s that broke the silence of the white left in the so-called McCarthy era when the government was going after people and saying they were communists, and there was basically no response from the white left at that time? Who was it that stood up and kept the democratic space open for everybody? It was Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. It was African people. And it is African people today. And if we want to be on the winning team, we have to be under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement, the African People's Solidarity Committee, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and be a part of making this historic victory come into fruition. So yeah, we don't have to be afraid. We don't have to despair. We have to organize. We have to go out and organize and build white solidarity with Black power.
Uhuru, Uhuru. And on that note, Jesse and Maureen, can you talk a little bit, which I mean, we kind of just went over, but about the importance and urgency of the solidarity work, and most importantly, how can people get involved? So, yeah, how can people become a part of this?
I think Jesse just said a few things.
Definitely.
Join Uhuru Solidarity Movement, join the African People's Solidarity Committee, be in the work. Reparations looks a lot of different ways. It can look like, writing a check. It can look like standing at a pop-up and selling pies. It can look at like being out selling Uhuru Planet t-shirts and getting the word out, doing this work, or it can be actually involved in the projects of the Black Power Blueprint. And it's really, the chairman has said, and he said some of this recently, I built the solidarity movement, the APSC and the USM, to break the encirclement of the African liberation movement. And I just think that's, we're part of the defense, and we're part of the offense as well against, colonialism when we do reparations. So those are some things. And make sure this bakery gets open just as another nail in the coffin. It might seem like a little thing, and it's really not just about a bakery. It's about a fight back, and it's about African people having control. And just to say, this bakery is in a community where 60% of the properties around it are vacant.
Yeah.
There is no business in that neighborhood, in that particular neighborhood. There's not a business in it. And this neighborhood association actually has in its bylaws to uphold all zoning codes with strict aggressiveness. I mean, what that means is keeping African people from having their own, from having businesses, from having commerce, from having a place where they can sit down and talk with each other. And we can play a role in ensuring that that's not what this community continues to look like, and that's not what the world for African people continues to look like.
Uhuru. Chair Jesse, anything to add on that? I think I know there's an event coming up.
Yes. Well, I just echo that. Join APSC, join Uhuru Solidarity Movement, donate, and I think some people already have, and we're going to be shouting them out in just a minute.
Yes.
To apscuhuru.org/donate, and go attend the bakery appeal. Spread the word about that. Let's get tons and tons of people on to stand with the African community on February 12th. And also want to mention, maybe this will be in the announcements, but there is a film showing of Hands Off Uhuru this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central of Concerning Violence, a documentary about the anti-colonial struggle in Africa, based upon the first chapter of Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth. So that's a great event happening with a panel discussion with some great panelists, Secretary General Loezi Kinshasa, Efia Nwangaza, veteran of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and Director Tafari Mugeri of the APSP Occupied Azania. Okay, that's going to be announced later on. So I'll just say the USM convention, come to St. Louis, March 15th and 16th for the Uhuru Solidarity Movement National Convention this year. You can go to uhurusolidarity.org/register, and it's going to be an incredible weekend with including a tour of the Black Power Blueprint. So we want people to be here so they can see these programs with your own eyes and hear directly from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, Chairwoman Penny Hess, and be with all of our comrades from throughout the country and beyond, right here in the heart of the Black Power Blueprint in North St. Louis. So, Uhuru.
Uhuru, yes, yeah. Thank you for that, and I do want to shout out, and thank everybody who has contributed so far. We have Lisa from Minneapolis, $50. Kristen from Spokane, $10. Penny from St. Louis. I know a Penny from St. Louis. $100. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Um, Allison from St. Louis. Uhuru. Allison. John from Illinois, $20. Uhuru John. Jesse from St. Louis. Uhuru Jesse. So
Uhuru.
and I would like to say I'll contribute $25 as well. So we can get that in there. So I believe that gets us so we are at 280. Yeah, two. Oh, and Wendy, $15. So
For Wendy.
yeah, so 295. So we have 205 left to raise, and so before our next section, we're gonna do the appeal. But I want to thank you both so much, Jesse and Maureen, for joining, for talking with us, and kind of giving us all this information. And just really salute you both for being engaged in these struggles, and keeping everybody here informed. But I do want to let people know we will be having a Q&A session shortly. So Jesse and Maureen, please stay with us, and please submit any questions you might have. If you're on Zoom, there is the Q&A feature. Just put your question in there. And then YouTube, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, just put it in the chat. Before that, I do want to take just a few minutes to tell you how you can get involved in solidarity with African people's struggle for liberation and support this work. This is kind of a little bit of a reiteration, but just to give you some more information on this, the most important thing we can do to stand with all oppressed people is to join under the leadership of the African Revolution. And that is what APSC, this organization, was created to do. So we have a goal today to raise at least $500 for the Uhuru Solidarity Center in St. Louis. Please go to apscuhuru.org/donate. And it looks like we have some updates. So Uhuru Blaze, $60. Uhuru Maureen, $50. So we are less than $100 away from our goal, which is fantastic news. The funds we raise in these events go to the expenses of the Uhuru Solidarity Center in St. Louis, which I know is having some work done in the next couple of days. This building is owned by the African People's Socialist Party, and we as APSC are responsible to develop and promote and build the movement for white people's reparations to the African community of St. Louis and beyond. And the party has given us this incredible this center to really kind of host this work. This is the headquarters of the African People's Solidarity Committee in the U.S. and around the world. Now I do have a few slides just to talk about this a little bit. So there we go. The African People's Solidarity Committee is, a unique organization in that it is a strategic front of the African liberation movement behind enemy lines, so in the white community. And we are led by the African People's Socialist Party, founded in 1976. Uhuru, next slide. So the mass organization of APSC is the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, with members in 130 cities in the U.S. and Canada. And I know we have some Solidarity Movement members joining us today, so salute to all of you. Uhuru, next slide. So APSC is a cadre organization, meaning we adhere to African internationalism. the worldview of the African People's Socialist Party, which is a worldview to change the world, not just analyze it. It is a theory that demands practice, and that's what this whole program has been about, kind of, demonstrating that this organization is about action. So, Uhuru, next slide. And there it is. So this is the national headquarters of APSC and USM, the Uhuru Solidarity Center at 2654 Gravois Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, fantastic building. Yep, and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. This is the March Against Genocide. Every year there is the annual Days of Reparations campaign that USM holds, and this is kind of one of the culminations. Is the March Against Genocide? This fall in St. Louis. Next slide. Okay, the main work of APSC and USM is reparations, returning stolen resources to the programs of the party, building political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. And you can see some examples of that with the Black Power Blueprint right there. Next slide. Programs also include, of the Black Power Blueprint, also include the Uhuru Houses, Uhuru Foods and Pies, Black Power 96.3 FM, and the Burning Spear newspaper. That's just to name a few of these. And again, I do want to encourage anybody, if you haven't been to St. Louis, come and take a tour, which the convention would be a perfect opportunity for that. And we'll give the information out for that in just a minute. So a critical front of all the work under the leadership of the party is the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa campaign that is pushing back the state attacks on the African liberation movement and leading the struggle for anti-colonial free speech. And we heard some of that earlier. We had the incredible victory with the sentencing in December, but that struggle is not yet over. Uhuru, okay, looks like we did have Ruby contributed $25, which puts us $70 away from our goal. So Uhuru, we are so close. I strongly encourage everybody, to go and contribute whatever you can. apscuhuru.org/donate. Let's hit this goal and make sure that we are doing our part to keep the Solidarity Center up and running in good order. The Uhuru Solidarity Center, that it's a vital resource for people from the white community in St. Louis to come together to plan and organize events. We have like all our local meetings there. We have we'll host webinars from there. We do, sometimes, every year we have a telethon. Sometimes that is from the Solidarity Center, all kinds of incredible events, poetry nights. It is where, the home of Uhuru Planet. Just so much is housed right in that center. Uhuru. Uhuru Esther, I will donate $100 later tonight. Uhuru.
Wow. Salute to Esther Holden.
Yes, absolutely.
Incredible.
Yeah, taking an incredible stand of reparations. So awesome. That is so cool. Oh, and it looks like Marcel donated $25 and Janice donated $50. So we have shattered that goal. So salute to everybody who contributed, on this webinar, and for taking that stand of reparations. So Uhuru, comrades. Okay, Uhuru. And now, and I do want to say just another important way you can take action right now is to join this organization, join the African People's Solidarity Committee, founded by Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, to work directly under the leadership of the African Revolution, to tell the truth and take full responsibility to stop the violence of colonialism, win reparations, and rectify the last 500 years of genocide committed by Europeans and Americans, which we directly benefit from today. Joining at APSC is how, we can take a stand in a stand of reparations. We can support from the white community. So if you are interested, go to apscuhuru.org/join and fill out the form. Someone from the membership office will contact you within 24 hours, and we can get started on the new membership process. This includes political education, and getting to work, contributing your skills and strengths to this mission of winning millions in reparations to the African liberation struggle and building a massive movement of white solidarity with Black power under the leadership of the party. This is the time to bring all of those stolen resources from African people for hundreds of years to the African Revolution. So, if go today, join apscuhuru.org. Okay, Uhuru. Yeah, salute to everybody. We have beat our goal, and now we are moving into our Q&A. So I just want to first recognize everybody tuning in, where we have people tuning in from. And I want to thank our chat moderators for putting all this together for me. St. Louis, Missouri, Phoenix, Abenaki Territory in Maine, Portland, Tampa, Florida, Western Pennsylvania, Louisville, Kentucky, Oakland, California, Chicago, Illinois. We had across the pond, and then in parentheses UK question mark. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Columbus, Ohio, Grandview, Missouri, Spokane, Washington, Buena Park, California, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Southern Illinois. So welcome everybody, and let's get to it. Let's get to the Q&A. Here we go. So this is from Don on YouTube. Question directed at Chair Jesse that I know Chairman has really kind of pushed for. Has Comrade Jesse applied for law school?
Not yet.
On his way.
Yeah, I also want to invite Maureen back on to participate in the discussion. But no, that is something the chairman called for. To really have people in the legal realm that can fight for the interests of the African liberation movement. And it was the experience of the case of the Uhuru Three was an incredible learning experience under the leadership of Chairman Omale Shatella and his brilliant strategy of how to take on the colonial state and colonial law, on understanding first and foremost that it is colonial law, that, like the chairman says, law is the opinion of the ruling class, and the colonizer creates the law, but colonialism itself illegitimate. And that's a really profound statement that the chairman has made, that under colonialism, freedom for African people has always been illegal. And the US government, the colonial state, will use the law to attack and imprison and crush the movement of African people for their freedom. And the chairman, using the political strategy of African internationalism, used that same law, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the First Amendment, to create a political problem for the colonial state that was their problem, and that made an opportunity for the African liberation movement to grow and build and expand its influence. And like the chairman says, you make them fight themselves. It's their constitution. When the First Amendment was written, African people, as the chairman says, were enslaved. So the Constitution wasn't written for African people. Therefore, African people have always been the fiercest fighters for those basic democratic rights. And yeah, so it was an incredible honor to be a part of that process. And anybody that wants to get a law degree and turn over that law degree to the movement of the people, the movement of African and colonized people, I encourage you to do so. So, but that's on the horizon. I got a few there's a few steps I have to go through to get to that point. But yeah, thank you for the question. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Kristen Forthen. And I'm really happy to see Kristen on here. I just want to say that. I just want to say we miss you, comrade, and your whole family. Just amazing, amazing comrades. And if there's any way you can come to St. Louis for the national convention, we would be so thrilled to see you, Comrade Kristen. So I just want to appreciate you being on and contributing. Uhuru.
Uhuru also, quick shout out to KC who contributed $10. Uhuru. Um, Next question from Don. To the point of summarizing Trump presidential admin, at what point will the state be forced to acknowledge its hand in global destruction? The American state, that is.
Maureen, do you want to jump in?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how to say that, but the US government is probably, whether it's Biden or Trump or whatever, is responsible for global destruction. I mean, Biden brought us to the point of World War III, to the brink of World War III. Biden was responsible for attacking the Uhuru 3. So I think the question is, we have to defeat colonialism. We have to fight for Black power, and we have to fight for reparations. And that's what's going to save the world.
Well put. Unite.
Uhuru. I'd say with the way Trump speaks, he may accidentally admit to it at some point. Next question, though.
By the way, yeah, I want to give another shout out to Esther Hosendorf. And this is just a really, really important comrade out in Kansas City who's been on the front lines of the reparations question with the Kansas City Reparations Commission, and who's also just been a dear friend of the Hands Off Uhuru campaign. And she wrote in the chat, I am so pleased to be a part of Uhuru to do what I can to fight for freedom for Black African people. So thank you to
Uhuru.
Esther Hosendorf, and we're very honored that you were able to be on with us tonight.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, question from Afua. I hope I am pronouncing that right. How do you think BRICS will impact the economic landscape of the USA? BRICS is larger in its numbers than any raving asinine rants of Donald Trump.
Wow, these are great questions.
Yeah.
One thing I would say, I would encourage people to, I mean, I'll take a stab at it, but I would encourage people to really check out the O'Malley Taught Me studies on
Yes.
on YouTube, the Burning Spear YouTube channel. And you can find, and also to read Chairman O'Malley Shatela's books, because especially when we talk about BRICS, which, is this economic arrangement that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And now there's many, many, many other countries who are coming into this this economic alliance that is meant to counter the dominant role of U.S. imperialism in the world. And they've talked about creating their own currency backed by the actual resources of each country, and forming political alliances that are contending with the position that the U.S. has assumed it can hold in the world as the #1 colonial power since, as the chairman explained, since the end of the Second Imperialist War. And one of the chairman's books is called An Uneasy Equilibrium. And I highly recommend that book. You can get it on the burningspear.store. And the chairman talks about in depth that, what we're seeing in the world now is, like I said earlier, I was quoting the chairman, an existential crisis of the colonial mode of production, that the U.S., hegemony, domination of the world is over. The idea, the uncontested rule by U.S. imperialism over the rest of the peoples on the planet Earth, those days are over. And all of these things, the rise of other countries like Russia and China and the BRICS countries, are part of that crisis and are part of the dethroning of the U.S. dollar, et cetera, and the end of what the chairman talks about, the Atlanticist bloc, these alliances that were created between the U.S. and what they call the West and Western Europe following the end of the Second Imperialist War. But the key thing that the chairman really calls on us to understand is that as important as these developments are, the future rests in the hands of the African working class and colonized peoples of the world. And the colonial mode of production has to go. And only when the colonial mode of production is gone, is dismantled, is destroyed, can there be the possibility for genuine and positive relationships between nations and between human beings on this planet. What stands in the way of that is this violent, genocidal colonial system that was built, by white people 600 years ago and has dominated the world ever since. So these are really important developments in the world. And the chairman talks about how there's a lot of different countries that are, forming relationships in Africa and have an Africa plan, et cetera. But at the end of the day, the future of Africa and the Africa plan that will liberate Africa is the plan by African people themselves to get rid of those borders and take control of the vast wealth and resources of Africa for the benefit of African people. And that also is the key to the liberation of all of humanity, including white people, to be liberated from being colonizers. So that's what I would say, just kind of off the cuff. But I definitely recommend people check out those books and those studies, and continue to come to these studies and ask these kinds of questions, because I really appreciate that, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Okay. We've got 3 minutes left and one last question from Charles on YouTube. When will you be in New Orleans? I know we've got some incredible comrades out there, and I know there's a few hurdles to jump. But yeah, do you have an answer for that?
Charles, that is awesome. We want to come there. I know there is going to be a Hands Off Uhuru victory tour. USM is going to be a part of that. We want to be everywhere, and definitely New Orleans. There's the incredible Belinda Parker Brown and the Louisiana United International, which has been a huge part of the Black
Yeah.
Hispanic Coalition and Hands Off Uhuru, working with Chairman Amali Shatella. So thank you for that. Absolutely, we want to be in New Orleans, and I want to make sure we have your contact information, so we can be in touch with you. But if you can email info@uhurusolidarity.org, and if you registered for this, we probably already do have your contact information. But thank you, Charles, and we definitely want to be in touch with you about doing that, and we will be in touch with you once we're on our way there.
I know he's on YouTube, so we might not. So let's just make sure we get that in the YouTube chat if Charles is still on. So Uhuru. Okay, Uhuru. Perfect timing. Salute to everybody who joined us for this. And thank you for all of the contributions. Keep donating. If you're watching, a recording of this, you can still donate. Before we move into announcements and closing, I want to ask Jesse and Maureen, do you have any final words?
Uhuru, I just want to read this comment from Comrade Ruby. She says, "Thank you everyone for this discussion. This is what we have to talk about to the white community. Trump is a symptom of the fall of the US empire, not the problem. The solution is not either Democrats or Republicans. The solution is under the leadership of the African working class, building on the ground to create a new world without oppressors or oppressed." So appreciate that comment from Ruby. Thank you, Comrade Brendan. Salute to the party. Salute to the chairman, deputy chair, Chairwoman Penny, and to my comrade Maureen. It was great to be on here with you and
Salute to Chair Jesse as well, and come to the hearing. Show up in the hearing.
Yes.
Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. It's only on Zoom. The city officials don't like to go to work, so everything's on Zoom. Sounds like a joke, but it's
There'll probably be 2 of them in attendance.
yeah. So please be there, and we'll continue to put that word out. You don't have to say anything; just show up and show them the world is watching.
Put the pressure on, and we'll have a slide kind of showing that information too. So if we can bring up those slides, and salute to our special guests today, Maureen and Jesse. Thank you both so much for joining and being on today. Okay, and this is the film showing that Chair Jesse was talking about earlier on Saturday, February 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 Central, 12 Pacific. Hands Off Uhuru presents a showing of the film Concerning Violence. This award-winning film is based on the writings of Frantz Fanon on the national liberation movements of the 1960s and is narrated by singer and actress Lauryn Hill. The film screening will be followed by a panel discussion with special guest speakers, who I believe Jesse mentioned earlier. Some really incredible guests are going to be on. Buy your tickets, register at handsoffuhuru.org/fundraiser to attend online. Or if you are in St. Louis, you can come to the Uhuru House and attend in person. And again, that information is available at handsoffuhuru.org/fundraiser. So hope to see you all there. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Uhuru on Wednesday, February 12th at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. Attend the permit appeal hearing for Uhuru Bakery and Cafe. The hearing is open to the public via Zoom at that website. Passcode. We'll have that in the chat. And yeah, please join. You can also join by phone at 253-215-8782 with meeting ID 961-610-0275 and passcode 892471. I would just take a screenshot or a picture of your screen right now. So sign up today. Like Maureen was saying, let's show them the world is watching. Put the pressure on. Let's get this cafe open. So let us know if you're attending. You can put it in the chat or send an email to stl@uhurufoods.org. Okay, hope to see you all there as well. Here we go. The Saturday and Sunday, March 15th and 16th in St. Louis, Missouri. Come attend the 2025 Uhuru Solidarity Movement National Convention. For all the info and registration, go to tinyurl.com/USM convention. I strongly encourage everybody to attend in person. Come out to St. Louis. It'll be the middle of March, so hopefully the weather will be beautiful and you will get a tour. You'll get to see all of these institutions. You'll hang out with us in the Uhuru House in North St. Louis, and just see all of this incredible work. So Uhuru, next slide. You can also attend online, by the way, if you just cannot make it to St. Louis. So calling on all APSC and Uhuru Solidarity Movement members and supporters to read and distribute the Burning Spear newspaper. Now is the time to pre-order bundles of the February issue. Go to theburningspear.store. And a reminder, you can find resources to support your distribution efforts at apscuhuru.org/spear toolkit. And you can also sponsor a prisoner. Send the spear to comrades who are locked up in the colonial prison system. So Uhuru, and yeah, go to theburningspear.store. Okay, next slide. There we go. Uhuru Planet. Reparations apparel is clothing, accessories, and more that is forwarding the culture of white reparations to African people. It is an institution of Black Star Industries. Go to the online store at uhuruplanet.com to check out the newest design, kick the ass of the ruling class. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but this incredible shirt, salute to Comrade Halley for this magnificent design, and I will absolutely be seen at future events wearing that shirt. So find details about these and other upcoming events at theburningspear.com/events. Make sure to visit uhurusolidarity.org and apscuhuru.org to learn more about the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the African People's Solidarity Committee, and how you can become a member. Join the work to build white solidarity with Black power and unity through reparations. Thank you so much, Jesse and Maureen, our special guests for joining, and to everyone who, participated online and, and were a part of this incredible webinar. We are going to conclude today's event by showing a compilation of statements from members and supporters of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. So feel free to stay on and watch, and we will see you at our next APSC event on Wednesday, February 26th. Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa, Free the Uhuru 3, Unity through Reparations. Uhuru.
Not yet, Uhuru. Not yet, Uhuru. I just would like to express our appreciation to all of you for being here all along with us and giving these incredible lawyers this foundation to stand on, right? And able to walk into the lion's den with great confidence, and just did a splendid job.
Economic empowerment is the foundation of a healthy life. APDF mission and mantra is to defend the human and civil rights of the African community, and we believe that African people have the right to self-determination. Uhuru.
So we ask you to stay tuned by going to handsoffuhuru.org for regular updates, to read court documents, to support the campaign from anywhere you are in the world. And once again, comrades, drop the charges on the Uhuru 3. Hands up, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Victory is ours. Uhuru.
It is no surprise that they are going after Chairman Omali Yeshitela for his success, for he understands the situation we are in, and he has been preaching that, and most important, doing something about it, forming organizations that will help our people. And an important organization is the coalition that he has managed to put together and keep together.
Uhuru! 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 Black power and power to the people. We love you!
I just want to add, just taking on the federal government is challenging for anyone, but I've never seen three braver people than the Uhuru 3.
I am honored to be working on this case as well. I've spent my last year going through a lot of computer files and everything of the party and looking at videos, and I'm really impressed by everything that the party has done, and I'm just honored to be here, and thank you for letting me be a part.
This trial is an attack on the freedom of speech. It is also an attack on self-determination and the ability for us to be responsible for ourselves. I've said it from the very beginning that once I visited St. Louis, once I came down to St. Petersburg, once I got engulfed in the culture of the organization, to really see the things that they've been doing as far as caring for the community, having a basketball court, having a community garden, training women to be doulas, taking care of those people who are formerly incarcerated. All of those things that we are taking on with the goal of self-determination are reasons why the government would say we need to do something about it.
I just wanted to take a moment and tell you all how absolutely honored I am to represent you, Mr. Chairman. I know I've said that before, but it truly is an honor to be here. And as I sat here with all of you and I was listening to the tributes and the comments and the donations and all of your work and the singing, it just struck me that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
We must all fight this oppressive and illegal treatment. We will not be tribalized. We will not let the U.S. isolate, discredit, and destroy the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. We are all, singularly and collectively, the African People's Socialist Party Uhuru movement.
I stand for political freedom and call upon all parties, most especially the government, to keep hands off Uhuru.
Jesse Neville, Penny Hess, and Chairman Omali Yeshitela are being prosecuted not because they've broken any federal laws, and certainly not because they're pawns of the Russians, but because they work tirelessly to empower communities at a grassroots level and to tell the truth as they see it. They recognize that the United States is a settler colonial power, and they insist, in accordance with international law, that self-determination is essential to the realization of all human rights.
Uhuru, foremost, I want to thank Chairman Yeshitela and Chairpersons Odom, Hess, and Neville. We have no words for our appreciation of solidarity, love, and support shown by the Uhuru movement to Leonard and to ourselves. It is exemplary and shows the strength of unity and solidarity in movement.
Long live revolution. Long live the Uhuru 3. Long live the people who came here on the front line to witness and to do what is necessary.
Free the Uhuru 3. Dismiss all the charges with love, not fear. This is Mumia Abu Jamal.
Because if they came for Uhuru in the morning, they're going to come for you in the afternoon, and they're going to come for me at night. So we have to stand together. This is a sign that colonial capitalism, global capitalism, and imperialism is fatally flawed.
So we stand in solidarity. We say we're going to continue. We say Uhuru. We say we're going to continue to fight for our freedom and not be intimidated by these moves that are set to tear us down.
This trial represents is the closing of the gap between the defeat of the human rights struggle of the 60s and the attempt and the struggle to revive it today. So today it has been revived. Today we understand not only do we have the ability and the right, but we have the duty to stand up.
Yes. So I ran on a platform of reparations to Black people in 2017 and in 2019, just as I'm doing now. And they said I did this because Russians told me to, which is not only ridiculous, but it attempts, just like the whole overall attack on the Uhuru 3, what it attempts to do is rewrite history, as though Africans in the US and around the world have not been engaged in a struggle for reparations, raising this question for reparations for slavery and colonialism.
Uhuru, this is Paul Pumphrey from Friends of the Congo, lending out support for the Uhuru 3 that will be facing trial in September, as well as lending support for the struggle, for the fight back.
Chairman Yeshitela, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville were indicted by the U.S. government on these made-up charges of being agents of a foreign government.
And we invite all white people who are outraged by this assault on African people by the same colonial state power that murdered Tamir Rice, Ayanna Jones, George Floyd, Mike Brown, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, and so many others to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Stand up, defend the African liberation movement, fight for reparations to African people. And to the white community, it's our responsibility and in our interest to stand on the forward side of history.
I salute the Uhuru 3, the chairman, Penny, and Jesse, as well as Ona Zine Yeshitela for your vision, steadfastness, respect, friendship, and love, and am grateful for this profound opportunity to participate in Uhuru.
So anyone who really believes that this country is a haven for free speech must recognize that this case against the Uhuru 3 is just a blatant violation of any kind of free speech principle. So that is why free the Uhuru 3, and thank you very much, Uhuru.
Also 2018, we met Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and we met the Uhuru movement. We are members of the Uhuru movement as well, right here in South Africa. And we're saying that we will not relent. we will not back down. If they arrest Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the sky is the limit.
I would like to salute this courageous and soon-to-be victorious fight back for over 2 years. Of course, International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is a mass organization formed to defend the democratic rights of the African community. And one of those democratic rights is the right to anti-colonial free speech.
Thanks. I'm in queue. I've been in like a lot of the webinars, and then first time to attend one of the rallies, and then yeah, this has been just such an incredible experience, and just so like energizing and galvanizing.
Omali Yeshitela is one of the foremost revolutionaries, political strategists, and theoreticians of our time, and this government seeks to destroy him for that and all of the institutions that have been built up under his incredible leadership.
On today's episode, the issue before us is, what's the status of the Uhuru 3? And my guest is the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, also known as the Uhuru Movement. He's one of the Uhuru 3. He is Chairman Omali Yeshitela, my brother.
I appreciate the opportunity. You know, Palestinians, we appreciate anytime somebody acknowledges us and gives us a space to speak, especially when it's oppressed peoples, and you know, giving us part of your space to be able to express our solidarity and also speak out for our people.
So the more repressive they become, the more expressive we need to be. Hands off Uhuru, all power to the people. Thank you very much.
This is what this case tried to do. It tried to, among other things, it tried to say that white people would be intimidated to stand under the leadership of the African Revolution. And we say, no way!
This is a time now for all white people who want to take a stand to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, because this victory proves nothing will ever silence the voice of African people, of oppressed people, colonized people, struggling for their liberation, for their self-determination.
As far as the sentencing, what we got was not one day, not one time, and that's exactly what we wanted to hear. We want to thank you guys for joining us today. We are winning, guys. Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru, my name is Zaid Budisa, and I am here in Tampa, Florida in support of the Uhuru 3. We will not allow this dirty government to imprison our leader and imprison our comrades. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville have done nothing but fight for the liberation of African people, and if that makes them enemies of the state, then I too am an enemy of the state. Uhuru.
Because the United States government has chosen to attack our movement and attack our chairman and our right to free speech as African people who challenge the colonial mode of production and struggle for freedom for our people. And we just want to make sure that people recognize that the struggle continues and we will not stop until we win.
Not one step back are we going to take, that we're not going to allow our chairman, Omali Yeshitela, and our comrades to spend one moment in jail. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. All support, all love from the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project, Uhuru.
Uhuru. And salute to our comrades in the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. On behalf of the Peruvian collective, Los Verdes Los Verdes, I want to reiterate our solidarity with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville, who are at the forefront of a new wave of COINTELPRO political persecution against dissident leaders who are seriously challenging the genocidal U.S. hegemonic world order of colonialism, capitalism, and imperialism.
We say all power to our freedom fighters. They are not taking Chairman Omali. We will stand there, we will be there. Uhuru. All power to the people, all power to our freedom fighters.
We are on the right side with this one, and we all can unite on this one. And we know for a fact the FBI got it wrong. And we're saying not one step backwards. Free the Uhuru 3.
When we say in honor of the Uhuru 3, hands off the Uhuru 3, 3. We mean freedom and liberation for all oppressed people at home and abroad.
I'm Caleb Maupin, founder and ideological leader of the Center for Political Innovation, and I say hands off Uhuru, drop the charges against Penny Hess, Jesse Neville, and Chairman O'Malley. Hands off Uhuru.
So the chairman, he's not just fighting for his First Amendment rights or your First Amendment rights. He is fighting for the right of every human being on this planet to continue to live on this planet. And we had all better join him in that fight.
So I want to give a big shout out to the Uhuru 3 and especially to Chairman Omali Yeshitela for his incredibly courageous work.
The magnificent and marvelous Uhuru 3, who loved us enough, who continued to serve and sacrifice for us, such that we shall forever be fortified in our struggle for freedom.
The battle of the Uhuru 3 is the battle of America. It is the existential struggle of our time, that if you lose, we lose. Therefore, it's imperative that we learn about you and your struggle, because your struggle is our struggle.
If we allow them to attack our leadership, if we allow them to attack our people, then they will. But if we defend ourselves and fight back, I think that that's something that they have to contend with. And that's why we're seeing, I think they're testing the waters and to see how much they can get away with. And they're seeing that it's not going to be easy for them to attack Chairman O'Malley, the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru movement, or anyone else.
Defend the right to free speech. Drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. Victory to African and oppressed peoples of the world.
Uhuru. 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 Not a day in jail. Not a day in jail. Not a day in jail. Hands off Omali Yeshitela. Hands off Penny Hess. Hands off Jesse Neville. Whole world is watching.
Of course, we support you. And, these demonstrations against Netanyahu over here have incorporated not just the Palestinian issue, but all issues of injustice.
I think it's important right now to stand in solidarity with the Uhuru movement, with Omali Yeshitela and the rest of the anti-imperialist organizers.
Hands off Uhuru movement. You say hands off Omali Yeshitela, hands off Jesse Neville, hands off Penny Hess.
Good morning, Tampa Bay. Good morning, California. Chicago, Illinois. Good morning to you. Atlanta, Georgia. Get out that bed. South Carolina, North Carolina. World's best blind DJ.
The Uhuru 3 has spent most of their adult life fighting for constitutional rights for African peoples and all oppressed people.
What is the work that Jesse, Penny, and the chairman do? They work to inform Black people of the crimes that this country has committed against Black people for 400 years. And then they work to organize Black people to demand their righteous reparations as due. That's what the jury heard, and that's what the verdict they came back with.
Let me, first of all, on behalf of the Universal African Peoples Organization, salute the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru 3 for their steadfastness in responding to the unwanted attack upon free speech.
The work that the Uhuru movement does is not just for the Uhuru movement. Omali Yeshitela he good. You know what I mean? The work that he doing is for you too. It's for your sons and daughters. It's for your family. It's for the community.
And I'm clear as Minister UPD said, if it was not for the support of the people, I would have came out in the pound box. Yeah. If not at all. And again, right on to the legal aspect and everything, again, the people, y'all. Right on. That's it. That's it, man. Right on. Brother, should love respect, man. Beat goes on.
Victory to African nation and Black power to African nation. Or
never give up. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. We got a saying in Brooklyn. We say, "What's coming? War. Who's gonna win? We are." Because how
Straight up.